Let's Talk Reptiles. Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Today we are talking about AI in reptile keeping. We're going to look into getting care guides from AI and see how that works. The tools we're using today is going to be ChatGPT 3.5, and our task is simple. We're going to ask AI, how do I take care of a blank? And we'll see what they got. So in order to make this as simple as possible, we're going to stick to some of the most commonly kept reptiles. And we're doing that for a reason. With commonly kept reptiles, there's going to be an internet world full of information in terms of how to care for them. It is common knowledge when it comes to figuring out the best ways to take care of your reptiles. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and for beginning keepers and advanced, for keepers in general, it becomes really difficult to suss out what's good information and what's bad information. So we're going to use ChatGPT. We're going to see what they have to say. And the power in this is that because ChatGPT is scouring the entire internet for information, this means that whatever they come back with is going to be the most commonly held information, or most like proliferating information on the internet in terms of how to take care of these animals. It's an experiment. Let's see what we get. So we're going to start off our search with bearded dragons. Let's go there. So I'm going to type in how to take care of a bearded dragon. All right, let's see what we get. Oh, so right out the gate, I'm seeing some issues in the information. But this is pretty cool. So ChatGPT just delivered the results, and it categorized it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different categories, which is pretty great. So it starts off with habitat, then it talks about diet, handling and interaction, health and veterinary care, environmental enrichment, and cleaning. Each one of these categories, they have bullet points underneath them. So let's dive into it and see what ChatGPT has to say. So there's a small little intro here that says taking care of a bearded dragon requires careful attention to their habitat, diet, and overall well-being. Here's some general guidelines. All right, so I totally agree with that. That sounds like spot on in terms of things that keepers, especially new keepers, should be thinking about, and the mindset they should have as they go into taking care of a bearded dragon. Let's see what we have next. All right, so habitat enclosure. So it says provide a spacious, secure environment with enough room for them to move around. 100% agree with that. But then they follow it up with a 40-gallon tank is recommended for an adult bearded dragon. Now, right out the gate, we know that this is not the current minimum standards for an adult bearded dragon. And in most cases, we recommend 120 gallons. So that is a far cry from a 40-gallon tank. So when we're talking 120 gallons, we're talking 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot at minimum. Here at the store, the adult bearded dragons that we have on display, we keep them in a 4 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot, so bigger than minimum standards. So yeah, that is an X right there in terms of advice. Next up, we have ensure proper ventilation. 100% agree with that. That is spot on and perfect. So let's get into substrate. Under habitat, it says use a substrate that is easily that use a substrate that is easy to clean and indigestible. Then they recommend reptile carpet. Big no right there on the reptile carpet. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Then they say paper towels are ceramic tile. So paper towels are great. It's easy to clean, take them out, easy to keep the environment sanitized. A lot of folks use ceramic tile as well. That's also easy to clean. Now, why is reptile carpet a big no-no? One, because it is a porous fabric material that can hold bacteria like crazy. Even with washing it, putting it in a washing machine, let's say you're doing that, and that is if that material can withstand being washed in a washing machine in order to sanitize it. But it's going to be a bacteria breeding ground. And then next on top of that, those loops of fibers that make up that reptile carpet, your bearded dragon's nails can get caught in that and ripped out. As well as say their teeth. Say they're trying to eat a bug and their teeth get snagged into that carpet. Some folks may say, oh, that's overkill thinking about that. For me, I like to err on the side of if it can do them harm, then what's the point of using it? It's just not good reptile care. And so a big no-no to the reptile carpet. Let's go back and talk about the use of substrate. And they also said that's indigestible. So they're basically advocating for not using any type of loose substrate. Now, the reason why folks in general like to say don't use loose substrate is because of the possibility of impaction. And I get it. Impaction is a very real risk when it comes to your reptiles, but there's misinformation around the idea of impaction and what causes it. At the end of the day, impaction isn't caused by the substrate. It is an exacerbating factor. But what causes impaction is improper husbandry. So not keeping them at the right ambient temperature as well as the right basking light temperature, not providing them with the correct type of UVB light. That is what leads to impaction, not loose substrate. So where it says indigestible, I say X on that one as well. It's a nuanced conversation and it's not as simple as indigestible. Now, if we're talking about this as a general guide for beginner keepers that are learning to get their husbandry correct, it is a good idea for folks who aren't quite savvy or don't fully understand the nuances of the proper husbandry for that animal yet. It is a good idea to avoid loose substrate or things that can be digested because impaction is a husbandry issue. All right, let's keep it going. So next up we have temperature. So they say maintain a basking temperature 95 to 110. All right, I agree with that. I even have my basking temperatures at times go up to 115. These guides are a starting point, and I really watch my animals' behavior to decide what is a good basking temperature for them. If they're pooping well, then that temperature is good for them. If they're not pooping well, then you need to adjust your temperatures until you get to a place where they are pooping well. All right, next up. Keep the cool side of the enclosure 75 to 85. I agree with that. I think that's great. And it says use a heat lamp and a UVB lamp to provide the necessary heat and UVB. Now, of course, I 100% agree with that, using the UVB, but they don't specify what type of UVB you should be using. This is a little bit too general. There are linear UVB bulbs, which look like the long fluorescent tubes. That is what you want to aim for in terms of your UVB lighting. That's correct. There's also those spiral coil bulbs. Those often come with bearded dragon kits, which are a huge X in my book. Those things are absolutely horrible in terms of wrong size enclosure. It comes with carpet. It comes with the wrong type of UVB light. Those things are literally designed to slowly kill your animal over time. And it's really sad because a lot of new keepers get those kits thinking, oh man, this is everything I need. I'm set. I'm so excited about that. So having more information here in this AI care guide about the proper type of UVB light you need for your bearded dragon is critical. All right, so next up, lighting. Oh, wait. Okay, so lighting, they say bearded dragons need UVB lighting to metabolize calcium properly. Bam, that's so spot on. Good job, AI. Use a UVB lamp for 10 to 12 hours a day. Also spot on. Again, I thought that AI was going to knock me off my soapbox right quick, but still what I said a moment ago about it needing to be more specific about the type of UVB, the power of UVB. There's 6%, 10%, 12%, 14%. There's different strengths of bulbs that need to be taken into consideration, and AI isn't touching on that. All right, let's get into diet. So feeding, offer a diet of live insects. Crickets, roaches, mealworms. I like that they gave a few different options for the types of insects because this taps on a variety. That's awesome. And fresh vegetables. Feed juveniles 2 to 3 times a day. What? Okay. Feed juveniles 2 to 3 times a day, while adults can be fed once a day. Okay, this is complete lunacy right here. Feeding juveniles 2 to 3 times a day, while adults can be fed once a day. I'm going to just do a quick look over this to make sure they're not going to cover any of the things I'm about to say. Okay, they totally don't. So first of all, there's a huge problem with reptile obesity in our hobby, and that obesity comes from overfeeding our animals. Advice like this 100% will contribute to that issue of reptile obesity. How often should you feed your baby or juvenile bearded dragons? This is my practice. I feed them twice a day, and I give them their salad first so that they will eat their salad without being distracted by bugs. If you put in bugs with the salad, like put them in at the same time, then they are going to 9 times out of 10 go for the bugs first and ignore the salad. So 2 times a day, I put my salad in first, and then I put my bugs in after that. If I have dragons that are being picky about eating their salad, sometimes I will mix the bugs in with the salad. So that way, when they're trying to eat a bug, they will inevitably eat a piece of lettuce or collard greens or whatever I have in their salad mix for that day. They're going to inevitably get some of that as well. And while they say adult bearded dragons can be fed once a day, I use the same practice with my adult bearded dragons as well. Everyone gets salad every day, juveniles and adults. I put the salad in first. Same thing I do with my juveniles, my babies, I do that with my adults, and then I give them their bugs last. Now, this is what's wrong with this scenario. They say feed them 2 to 3 times a day while adults are fed once a day, but they don't cover the nuances of what are you feeding when. A beginner keeper looking at this guide may say, okay, I'm going to give them bugs 2 to 3 times a day. I'm going to give my adults bugs every day, and then I'll put some salad in there as well. That is what I can see as an easy interpretation from the information that they have here in this general care guide that AI has produced. And it's a lot more nuanced than that. You need to really pay attention to the way that you're feeding your dragons. Juveniles and babies, their diet should consist of 80% bugs and 20% salad, but adults, their diet should be flipped from that. It should consist of primarily salad, at least 80% salad with 20% bugs. And not following that properly could lead to health issues like fatty liver disease. It could lead to gout and obesity. All of these things could be life-threatening for your reptile. So you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of that. All right, so next up we have supplements. They say dust insects with calcium powder at least 3 times a week and multivitamin once a week. This is also fake news, misinformation. You should dust your insects with calcium every single time that you feed them. Why? Let's get into it. The reason that you dust your insects is because all insects have a skewed ratio in terms of phosphorus levels and calcium levels. Phosphorus, to make a long story short, counteracts the benefits of the calcium. They work against each other. Why is this the case? Because bugs have an exoskeleton versus having bones like invertebrates do, which naturally deliver calcium when consumed. So you need to dust your bugs with calcium every feeding so that you can counteract those high phosphorus levels and get it more in balance so that your reptiles are really benefiting from getting as much calcium as they can out of that feeding. So you want to do that every feeding, dust them with calcium. And then they say do a multivitamin once a week. I give my animals a multivitamin every other week. I give it to them twice a month. I don't want to contribute to them possibly developing issues with being over vitaminized. It's not a word. Hypervitaminosis or something, I think is what it's called. So I only give them their multivitamin twice a month. Yes, let's continue. So fresh water, it says provide fresh water in a shallow dish. Bearded dragons may not drink from a bowl, so consider misting their greens to provide hydration. I agree with this. Giving them a water bowl is a good idea. And making sure that they are having other sources for hydration is a great idea. A lot of folks say that bearded dragons are going to get all their hydration from their greens. This is not factual. You need to make sure that you provide them water so they can drink when they need. You need to make sure that you give them soaks so that they have an opportunity to drink water while they're soaking. Bearded dragons do not and cannot absorb moisture through their skin. So when you give them a soak, you're doing 2 things or 3 things for them primarily. 1, you're giving them an opportunity to drink water. 2, you're helping them out with shedding, making sure that their skin is moist enough so that they can shed properly. And 3, it's an act of enrichment. It gives them a different experience, which can be mentally stimulating for them and giving them a little bit of enrichment. Even in the times where giving them a bath is a little stressful, a little healthy stress is not bad for your reptiles. In fact, it is good for your reptiles, a little bit of healthy stress, right? So I agree with the fresh water take. Dropping in a little bit more information in addition to that, oftentimes people keep their bearded dragons with humidity levels much lower than they should be. So it's recommended that in most groups and a lot of care guides that bearded dragons be kept at a humidity level of like 30%. That is entirely too low. And that could also lead to impaction. That's another thing on the list of husbandry no-nos that can lead to impaction in your animals. Bearded dragons need their hydration, their humidity levels to be upwards of like 60%. I even take mine up to 80% when I mist the enclosure down to give them good humidity spikes. Australia is not bone dry. Australia is not bone dry. Okay, moving on. All right, so next up we have handling and interaction. So for handling, it says start handling your bearded dragon gently and regularly from a young age to get them used to human interaction. I agree with this. Socialization, allow your bearded dragon to explore outside of its enclosure in a secure and supervised environment. I agree with both of these things. Something else that they could add in to this list would be just spend time sitting near their enclosure where your bearded dragon can see you. This will give them an opportunity to just get used to your presence in general. So yeah, putting that out there as important thing to do. All right, next up, we have environmental enrichment. Yes, I love that. I love that they covered enrichment because I'm all about enrichment when it comes to reptiles. So I am super stoked that they covered this. Let's get into it. So they have hideouts and decor, provide hiding spots, branches, and other decor items for mental stimulation. I love that. Toys and activities include items for climbing, exploring, and other activities to prevent boredom. This is great. Good job, AI. I'm so happy that they covered this environmental enrichment. Most breeders don't add a section for enrichment to their care guides. So this is a huge thumbs up for me that this was included here. Next up is cleaning, which I think is another awesome thing to add in the care guide. And it says spot cleaning, clean up waste and uneaten food daily. Agree with that. That's awesome. And then deep cleaning, perform a deep cleaning of the enclosure regularly, replacing the substrate and cleaning all decor items. I 100% agree with this as well. So it gives us a little closeout paragraph. Let's go ahead and see what this says. It says, remember to research. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Remember to research and understand the specific needs of your bearded dragon, as individual requirements may vary. Love that. Regular observations. Yes, go AI. Regular observations and adjustments to their care routine will help ensure a healthy and happy pet. I love it. I love this conclusion so very much because it's true. Each individual bearded dragon is going to be different. And you need to really pay attention to your individual animal so that you can figure out, what do you need? Do you need me to adjust humidity levels? Do you like to drink from water bowls? Awesome. I'm going to make sure that you always have a water bowl. Do you like to soak in your water bowl? If so, I'm going to make sure I give you a water bowl big enough for your whole body to get inside of so that you can soak in that water bowl. Just paying attention to their behaviors, what they do, and making adjustments based on those behavioral cues that our animals partake in. Yes. Overall, this care guide had some really good, strong key points, talking about the adding in enrichment, handling instructions. As you saw and heard, my reaction for those things were really strong, but there are definitely areas here that contain misinformation. This is not AI's fault. AI is just a gathering tool. It scrapes the internet and other information sources and puts together what the most commonly proliferated information is out in the world. And from this particular AI search about how to care for a bearded dragon, then it's clear that the most proliferating information is that a 40-gallon tank is the right size for bearded dragons. Now, I want to use that as also a reminder for folks that are more experienced with keeping these animals. Oftentimes we get upset, mad at keepers because they're keeping their bearded dragon in a 40-gallon tank. And I think that this is a good reminder that they're not, and oftentimes doing that because they want to give their animal poor care. Bearded dragons end up in 40-gallon tanks because that is the information that is most proliferated out in the world. If a new reptile keeper decided to use ChatGPT in the same way that I just did, then they would also receive that information and potentially set their animal up in a way that's not most ideal for their care. And so it's important to know that, like, pay attention to the information that's out there. As individuals, we can put out more information in terms of what is the correct way to take care of these animals so that we can start to skew the dynamic in the direction of proper husbandry and proper care. And that also goes for the information about the proper UV lighting and the proper way to feed your bearded dragons. Putting out as much information as we can about the proper way to do these things can help correct some of these imbalances that are here in ChatGPT. Another thing that ChatGPT makes possible is I know I can do it when I'm using my phone, but yes, so I can come in and I can say it's a bad response. And then I can tell them why this is a bad response. I can give information about this so that hopefully for future folks, the information that they get out of this search guide may be a little bit more accurate. Right. So what we're going to do, we're going to continue this conversation and we're going to do a series of these videos talking about AI and care and the guides that they give when you search for them. So we did bearded dragons today. We'll do leopard geckos, crested geckos, ball pythons. We'll cover the gambit and we'll see what does AI have to say in terms of care for these animals. I'm really stoked. This was super fun for me. I hope it was fun for you as well. Oh, let me do a shameless plug. You can follow me on Instagram. I am the SHäP, THESHAP. On TikTok, I am the _SHAP, so THE_SHAP. I also have a lovely Patreon. Woo! If you're following along, watching this video on YouTube, I'm going to put a link down in the description for all of these things. What else? Oh yeah, and we have a store in Vallejo, California, the SHäP Reptile Education and Supply. So if you're in the Bay Area or visiting the Bay Area or any of those good things, stop on by, give us a visit. I love meeting you guys and chatting with you guys. I think that's it. I think we're done. Are we done? Yeah, we're done. I'm out of here. Bye.